Okay, guys, this is CIT 124 Introduction to Information Security, and we are going to continue our chapter. We ended our lecture last time when we were talking about different kind of social engineering attacks. Now we have identity thefts. Now, identity thefts involves using someone's personal information such as their name, social security number, or credit card details, etc., to commit any kind of financial fraud. Now, if someone else gets that information of the credit card, they can get the cell phones or the cellular network. They can get any SIM cards. They can rent an apartment, or it can use it for purchasing online any kind of services. Now, the victim is charged for all these purchases that are being made using the fraudulent credit cards, and they are in fact damaging the credit history of the person to whom they have got the details of their credit cards, etc. Now there are different kind of actions that identify the thieves who are actually trying to steal the information from the users. In order to list some actions that identify these thieves, is they can produce a counterfeit check or debit cards to remove money from the account. Since they got the details of your social security number or national ID card number, etc., plus your details, your address, etc., they can approach any bank online in order to create a bank account under your name, and they'll be using it for those purposes. They can get a telephone service, a mobile service, a SIM card, or an internet service under your name, and you'll not be aware of it till at the end of the year when you'll get a huge bill from the cellular company against the services that you have availed from them. They can file bankruptcy under the victim's name to avoid the eviction. They can purchase airplane tickets using the stolen credit cards, or they can open the credit cards under the name of a person with whom they got the details from the social media websites or internet or otherwise. Now they can obtain even the loans and excessive items such as cars and motorcycles, etc., leased under the details of a specific person using their credit card details or their address and social security number, etc. Now, if we'll try to understand the sources from where they usually try to get the information about the users is, first of all, in the category is dumpster diving. Now, most of us, once the card is expired, we just throw it away in the garbage. The procedure to dispose a credit card or a debit card is you'll have to shred it into pieces so that it's not readable by anyone. They usually look for the trash and the information outside the banks or the ATMs where people are just throwing away the receipts of their banks of the transactions without properly disposing them off. They can get some basic information about the bank statements and the information of individuals. Now, second category is phishing. The attackers convince the victims to enter their personal information on a website which is look-alike a original website, but it's not, and they are getting the information from the user by a fictitious email or posing it or just claiming it that it's from a legitimate bank account. Now, change of address form is another example where they can deliver a email or they can deliver a postal mail with a form that you need to update your information and kindly fill these details and send us at this address. Once they'll receive it on their address, if the person is filling it and sending the items out, they'll get the basic information about the person who's residing in that address. Now, the next is pretexting, an attacker who pretends to be from a legitimate research firm, asks for personal information like how many kids do you have, where are you working, your salary. They usually call like we are giving a very healthy mortgage or a loan from the bank. If you want to buy a car or own a house or lease a land or anything like that, And though they are actually collecting the personal information, they are not the original guys who are from the financial institution. So we must make sure before handing out any personal information that these are the legitimate guys. Now, by stealing also, they get the details from the person, like the wallet snatching or the mobile snatching or the wallet snatching, etc., that contains the credit cards or the debit cards or license and national ID card, etc. Once they are in their custody, they'll use that information to in order to have any kind of financial gain. Now, the other part is that most of the people are going the area of the identity thieves is by filing the fictitious tax returns with the government, claiming a large refund which they are not entitled for, and then they disappear once they receive a refund from the government. Now, the departments are usually following and trying to check that if the claim which came from an individual as a result of a tax return is a legitimate one. And as per the statistics, IRS, which is a department which is responsible for returning the claims, etc., delivered over 5.8 billions in refund checks to identify the thieves in 2013. It did stop about 3 million fraudulent returns in that year, but that's the magnitude of the kind of fraud which is taking place as far as the identity theft is concerned. Now, the next one that we will be talking about is a social networking risk, since most of us are heavily using these social networking websites and services like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and stuff, where we are posting lots of information which should not be there on the internet. Now, there are guys who are constantly looking and trying to dig the information which is related to you or your loved ones. Social networking risk is a grouping individuals and organizations into clusters based on their likes and interests is defined as social networking. With the popularity of online social networking has increased a lot in the past few years. Social networking websites are facilitating linking individuals or common interests, etc. If you are at a place or in a party or in a museum, etc., people are constantly posting their pictures and whereabouts. Now, using all that information, the location and the personal details of an individual can be traced easily, which is usually being sold out in the market later. Other problem with these social networking websites or the applications is that we don't know the other person with whom you're sharing the information. They might be asking certain things. Maybe they'll become friends with you, and then you'll not even feel like you are disclosing any personal information with them, and then it's usually being shared among those guys. So don't trust the people who are available online unless and until you know them very well and you know that they are not using your information for any financial gain, etc. Now, we know that there are lots of applications out there which constantly keep tracks of your geographical locations. Now, by tracking that or these kind of details, give them an idea that usually where are you roaming about. If you're constantly posting pictures that I'm at work, I'm at home, so they know exactly during what timings you'll be at home and what times you'll be at office. So they get a time slot in between where they can attack or they can target any kind of specific attacks using that kind of information. In social media websites like Instagram and Facebook, etc., people are constantly sending the friend request, and just to increase the friend list and people accept the friends, and you don't even know that who's this person and what's their motive. Of course, it's all done by humans. It's not an automated system. So there are guys who are getting all that information and selling it out to the third parties on the internet. Now, don't be a victim of these kind of social media websites or an individual to whom you don't know and you're disclosing your information way too much online. Next topic which we are going to cover is personal security defenses. Now we know different kind of security risk or issues which are there as far as the information security is concerned. We'll try to understand the personal security defenses that we must have in order to protect ourselves. Despite the number of attacks on the personal information security, there are defenses that can be used towards to protect yourself against these kind of attacks. These defenses include using stronger passwords recognized by recognizing phishing attacks and taking steps to avoid identity thefts and securing your social media websites and etc. If you are paying attention towards the weaknesses or the problems that you can incur by losing or disclosing way too much information online, you can protect yourself by following simple steps which could help us and our family members to be safe and to have a better and a comfortable environment online. Now, to talk about surprising the characteristics of the weak password is a password that can be memorized easily, or if you are constantly using the same password on different websites. Now, that's the basic mistake which most of us are doing is we are having one username and password for all websites. Suppose if your password is being compromised on one website, the person who will have access to this password, he'll use it on different social media websites and forums just to check that if you are using the same username and password. So if one password is compromised, your all accounts would be compromised. So the strategy shall be made in order to have a unique password for each service that you are using online, and then have a habit of changing those passwords on frequent basis. Now there are different technologies which are being adopted nowadays online in order to secure the passwords. They are called the password managers. They maintain your username and password in a secure wallet online, and they do claim that the passwords or the username which are stored in those password managers, or we call it wallets as well, are encrypted and are 100% safe. So in case if their service is also being compromised somewhere, your username and password would be secure. Now there are features available with Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox as well, where you can use their services password protected, and your username and passwords would be synchronized with Google servers. That helps us in a way that if we are changing the devices, or even if we are formatting the machines or anything, our username and passwords are always saved and secured somewhere, so that you don't have the threat that you might forget the password. Now in these kind of password managers, there are password generators as well, which helps you in generating a unique difficult password every time whenever you're signing up for a website, and then they'll be saving all those unique passwords somewhere in the wallet. Now you know that if you are making if you're generating a unique different password for a service, and it includes 8 to 10 or 12 characters which are alphanumeric, uppercase, lowercase, special characters and stuff, it is humanly impossible to memorize those passwords. But the beauty in these kind of password managers is that since they are compatible with cross browsers, it means that you can install it as a plugin on different browsers, and they will be password protected, and all your username and password would be synchronized on their servers. So regardless how difficult is the password, you don't need to memorize it. As long as you'll install the plugin on that browser and you link yourself with that password manager company, it would keep on synchronizing the password, and it would autofill the username and password for that specific website. So there are lots of services available out there. Other feature of the password management tool is in-memory protection, which is even maintaining the username and passwords which are saved in the memory of the computer. As we know that the passwords which are saved on the computers on a temporary basis, they are usually appearing as in the text format. In-memory protection means that the passwords are scrambled when the application is running in Windows, or while the operating system is performing certain functions, so it won't reveal any kind of passwords. You might have seen that in Windows, there is a utility available which says that show my password. So if you are running that utility on the computer, it would show all saved passwords which are there in the computer in a clear text format. Next is key files. A key file is a separate unique file that can be carried on a USB or a flash drive, or any other similar device in order to open the password database that is not only contains the password but the basic information which is required in order to authenticate on those websites. Now that helps you as a key to open your wallet in these kind of password managers, that you need a USB which has the unique password in order to decrypt the password manager. So in case if someone got access to the password manager where you are maintaining all your username and passwords, any person whoever got the access will not be able to decrypt it unless and until they have that key file available with them. Next is that we can have the policy on the computers on all those services that if someone is constantly trying for a username and password, the account would be locked out for a certain number of minutes or hours. In banking websites, if in most of the banking websites, if you'll try the password constantly for 3 times and you are entering a wrong password repeatedly, they'll lock out your account, and then you'll have to contact the bank and verify your identity in order to release the or in order to unlock the account. That's done as part of a protection mechanism that they don't want to give a liberty to anyone that who can constantly try different kind of passwords using brute force or dictionary attacks in order to guess the password. Now we already discussed about the important export, that we can have a feature where the new passwords can be exported to a device or imported as you are constantly changing the passwords. It would be updated on their wallets. And then we have different random password generators where you can select that what kind of password you want to have and how many characters shall be there in a username and password, mostly in a password. It really depends on you if you want to have an uppercase or a lowercase, numbers, digits, spaces, special characters, brackets, ANSI characters, or underscore, etc. It depends what kind of options you want to select in, but make sure that you have access to those websites online. Now the problem in these kind of websites is that, for example, if you're traveling somewhere and you don't have access to the password managers and you want to get access to those passwords, you won't be able to access. But it doesn't make sense that why you need to access the passwords if you're not online. In certain cases where certain passwords are quite critical, or they require the internet access to be there, make sure that you have backed up the information which is saved on their wallets in a secure USB wallets as well, which helps us in doing our task on daily basis. Now, how can we create a strong password? Creating a strong password means that we must not use any words which are appearing in the dictionary, and we are not repeating the characters in a sequence like double A, double S, or number 1, 2, 3 up to 8 and stuff like that. You are not using your date of birth, your family member names, your pet names, your address, your personal information. And do not use a short password. Like if you're slow in typing in the password, anyone who's looking at you from a distance can easily read that which password actually you keyed in. The password should be minimum of 18 characters. If you can comfortably manage it with an uppercase, lowercase, and special characters in between, that would be a very good safe password. Now, in order to understand that how many possible passwords could be there, if your password length is only 2, the number of possible passwords could be 6,400. If 3 characters are there in a password, the possible passwords which could be there could be 512,000. And then if you have 4 characters, 5 characters, and 8 characters, so it would keep on growing exponentially. Now, using a non-keyboard character or a special character is a good method to have a secure and a difficult password. The more difficult the password is, the more difficult is it for the guy to judge it and in order to crack your any applications or services that you are using online. If you're using any special characters in the bit in between, and if you're constantly pressing alt and shift keys, so even if the persons who are trying to get the password using the keyloggers, they won't be able to get any benefit out of it, since you are pasting special characters inside the inside your username and password. Next in the list is recognizing phishing attacks. Now, phishing attacks are generally start with the receipt of an email message that you'll receive in your mailbox, and someone would claim that they are from a reputable source like a bank or your organization or a website that you're constantly using, having the same official logos, web links, each and everything would look very much similar to the original website. They might send you an email with the update of information or update your username and password, or they might send you a link that click on this link and change your password and stuff. So that kind of information is usually used in order to collect your personal information. Now we'll try to understand that how can we avoid a identity theft. There are some basic principles that we must be following in order to counter these kind of identity thefts which are taking place. First of all, deter the theft by safeguarding the information and by monitoring the financial statements. Now, in order to tackle it, first of all, any financial documents or statements that you are receiving from the banks, you must shred them as soon as you have checked them thoroughly. Now, when we are checking the financial statements, we must keep an eye on the transactions that took place, the time of the transaction, and the amount. Sometimes these kind of transactions are taking place late night when you are usually not awake and not monitoring these kind of things. So make sure that the transactions took place are the legitimate ones, and when you were around those stores and you were shopping at that place. Avoid carrying any social security card, etc., or having your details in the wallet, so that if anyone gains access to it, they must not be able to gain any benefit out of it. Securing the information at home in a secure place where all your personal documents which are of an importance, like your passport, social security number, driving license, and all those documents are there with their numbers. Keep the information in a secure place, and be alert to the signs that indicate an unusual activity. For example, bank might send you an SMS, or they might call you that did you make a transaction or anything like that, just to make sure that it's you who is actually using those kind of services online. Follow-up calls regarding the purchase that were not made. Keep on checking on your statements, especially for the items that you purchased, but actually it was not you who was buying or using the credit card during that time frame. Review the financial and billing statements each month carefully as soon as they arrive, or nowadays we can check them online on daily basis as well. Now there are legislation to help the users to monitor the financial information. Fair Accurate Credit is there in the United States and allows the consumers to free access to their credit report on annual basis, and consumer can report any inaccuracies to the credit reporting agency, and agency had 30 days to investigate and respond to correct those kind of transactions which took place under your name. Now in the end, we have the topic called setting up social networking defenses, like what we must be doing on social media, etc., in order to protect our identities, to be cautious about what information you're posting on those websites, whether it's required to be there or whether is it of any importance to you or your friends. Don't post any travel plans because by doing that you can invite burglary which can took place at your residence in your absence. Don't post any information about the air travel tickets, your bookings of the hotels, the duration of the stay, when you're leaving, when you're coming back, considering allowing the acquaintances and business associates access to a limited version of the profile that you have in the organization as well. Not too much of the information which is not of the importance of the organization shall go online, and pay attention to the information about the new and updated security settings which are there. As far as the social media websites like Facebook and Twitter are concerned, you can constantly check the security settings and improve the presence of the information which should be appearing on the website. There are lots of options available, but they are at the discretion of the users. It really depends that which information you want to hide from the users and which information shall be appearing in front of the users. Now we can update the settings on Facebook, we can review the guidelines, we can adjust the Facebook privacy policy, and see the site through what the others users would look at your website in a way. Now you must keep an eye on your friends list as well on Facebook, just to make sure that the persons who are appearing in your friend list are really your friends. Sometimes it happens that people would send an invite to join a page or something, and actually it's a request like someone would be added to your page, and they'll be constantly keeping an eye on your activities. So by following all those things, we are pretty sure that we can have a very secure environment online, which would be safe for us and for our families. So that's all as far as this chapter is concerned about security awareness. That's it for today, guys. Thank you very much.